Hi guys, welcome to today's video. So we're going to be going through every book on my physical TBR. My entire physical TBR is behind me right now. I did a bookshelf reorganization video not long ago and also like a bookshelf tour. So if you want to see that, you can watch that after if you like. I thought it was about time that I went through all the books on my physical TBR. The last time I did one of these videos was a really long time ago. It might even be like almost a year at this point, but that was also like a terrible video. It just wasn't a great video. I think it's definitely still up on my channel, but I'd advise you probably not to watch it because it's probably not great. Hopefully this video is better, and I now have a lot of different books. I don't know if I have more books now than I did then. I'm not really in a rush to get through my physical TBR. I always like having a big variety of books to choose from. I feel like I'm happy with the amount of books I have. So I did go through and count all of them, and I have 123 books, which I'm actually surprised about. I thought I'd have more than that. So let's get into it. I'm not going to take all of the books down. I'm going to go by like stacks so that it's easier for me. I also have my TBR set up in genres. So we're going to go through fantasy first. So I'm not going to talk in detail about every book because the video would just be way too long. If there's any books on my physical TBR you want to see me read in a reading vlog, please let me know because I will make it a priority to read those books. I might even do a video using the comments in this video to choose what I read. With fantasy, I have in total 33 books. This is my second largest genre I own. So let's get through the first stack. We have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V. Schwab. I've had this for a really long time. It also has some sun damage. Don't look at that. I don't actually mind that much, to be honest. This book is a little worse for wear because I usually keep it at the bottom. Those books go through it a little bit, but this book intimidates me a lot, and it's also such a big book. Like, this book is so heavy. I wish you guys could like feel how heavy this book is. It literally feels like a brick, and so that's very intimidating, and I also just haven't been drawn to it. I'm trying not to speak too much about every book, but I know I'm going to. Okay, I Am Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I honestly don't like this author, but I really liked Fourth Wing, and as soon as I finished Fourth Wing, I pre-ordered Iron Flame. I think I will read it. I don't know when. I don't think anytime soon. It's also like a massive book. And then we have Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I don't know why these books are so big. And I know all of these, well, I don't know about Iron Flame, but I know Addie LaRue and Fairy Tale has smaller versions that aren't this heavy, so I don't know why I have the ones that are like a brick. But this was the first Stephen King book I got. I haven't even read Stephen King yet, even though I have a few of his books now, and I don't know what this is about, but it really intrigued me. I don't think it's actually horror or thriller, which is like his specialty, but it very much intrigues me. Also, the cover is very pretty. The Prison Healer by Lionette Noni. I think this is fantasy romance, and it's a duology maybe. A Hunt on Dark Waters. This author has a romance series that's, I think, Greek mythological retellings. I have the first book in that series, and then this is a fantasy, and I honestly don't know what her writing is like because I haven't read her romance books, but I was very surprised to see she had a fantasy book. It looks like there's witches, a magical sea. It sounds really, really interesting. We have The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. I honestly forget I even have this book. I read The Cruel Prince last year, absolutely loved it, one of my favorite series. And when I read The Cruel Prince, it was around the time that The Stolen Heir came out, and so I bought it, but I haven't picked it up. I don't know, I haven't heard the best things. I'm not really that intrigued by the book, but I know I still want to read it, especially if I get glimpses of Jude and Carnan. So I will read it at some point, I don't know when. Then we have The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I hauled this recently. It's by Carissa Broadbent. This is a vampire romantasy, a vampire and a human. And it also has like trials and stuff. I think it kind of gives Hunger Games vibes. And then we have Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in a long series, I think. This series has been on my radar for a long time, and I'm very intrigued, but I'm also quite nervous to start a Robin Hobb book since he's such a popular author. I don't know what to expect, and that kind of scares me, but I'm very intrigued to get into this series. Oh my god. I have Babel by Arif Kwang. This book I've had for so long, and I never want to pick it up, but I feel like it's also going to be such an amazing book, but it also just scares me so much. I think this is kind of historical fantasy maybe, but it just seems like such a smart book, and I feel like I'm not ready for that, but I probably need to bite the bullet at some point and read it. We have Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. This is a Witch and a Witch Hunter, I think. It's a romantasy, the first book in a series. This is on my TBR for 24 books I want to read in 2024. I've really wanted to read this book. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Hopefully I'll read it very soon. Next we have Full of Ruin and Wrath. I've actually seen a lot of people have this book, but I haven't heard any ratings or anyone's thoughts about it. I think this is the same author for From Blood and Ash. It is, which that series has a lot of mixed reviews. I haven't read that series yet, but this intrigued me, so I picked it up. There's gods, there's a guardian. Okay, next I have Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. This book is so cute. It's so tiny, but it's also like so thick. This is so cute. Oh my god, this is gonna be so hard to read. How do I can't even open the book properly. I've never watched Game of Thrones. I couldn't even tell you what it's about. I think there are dragons. But I feel like it's a series I need to read at some point. So I got the first book. But it's also a very intimidating book for me. I have Blood and Honey, which is the second book in the Serpent and Dove series by Shelby Morin. I actually have read this. I started this book and I DNF'd it at page 385. And I have like 100 pages left, I think. I don't remember why I DNF'd it, but I wasn't enjoying it, but I know I do want to finish it. And I have the last book in the series, Gods and Monsters. Oh my god, can I just tell you guys, this book is made so weirdly. Like, this is like a paperback, but why does it have like a hardcover thing? I don't know. But I loved Serpent and Dove, and then I didn't like Blood and Honey, so I DNF'd it. But I know that I do want to finish it, and I do want to like close off this series, but I don't know when I'm gonna do that. Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I haven't read this series yet because I want to read the Caraval series yet, but I don't own them. So I really want to read this series, but I have to wait until I get Caraval and I read those books. Oh my god, this book is heavy. I have From Blood and Ash. I forgot what this book is about, but it's a really popular fantasy romance series. There's a lot of mixed reviews. I think it's also a really long series. I've seen so many people say as the series goes on it kind of gets worse, but I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued, and I've seen so much fan art for this series that I just want to pick it up and read it. Okay, we finished the first stack of fantasy. I'm gonna put all of these back and then I'm gonna get the next stack. We have Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair. This is a fairy tale retelling fantasy romance. It's very short. It sounds really good, so I hope I get to this soon. Next we have Crave by Tracy Wolf. I actually have no idea what this book is about, and I haven't heard really any thoughts about it, but I feel like it's a popular book, so I don't know how that works. But someone did comment on one of my videos that they want me to read this book, so I will hopefully get to it soon. Then we have Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I think this was really popular last year, maybe. I feel like I heard so many people saying this was like ACOTAR, but people are saying that about almost every fantasy book, I feel like, for a period of time. But this book has really intrigued me, and the cover is really pretty. Then we have Shadow and Bone. I only have the first book in the series. I want to read this before Six of Crows. I've heard so many bad things about this series, but I've also heard some positive things, and a lot of people say you should read this series before you read Six of Crows, so that it makes more sense. But I'm just really nervous to read it. And then I have Six of Crows. And then I have Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. This series is really confusing to me. I think there's like so many books in the series. I think this is where it starts. I could be wrong. I feel like it's a really, really popular fantasy series that's been going around for a long time, and I'm really intrigued, but I'm also nervous to get into it. Then we have Creeping Beauty by Andrea Portes. I haven't heard anyone talk about this book, but it really intrigued me at the bookshop, so I picked it up. And then we have The Beautiful by Renee Ardi. Is that how you say it? I'm not sure. I also don't know what this book is about, but it really intrigued me. I think I'm gonna say that for so many books. I forgot I had this book. I have the Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I've heard so many mixed things about this book and this author in particular, so I've been really nervous to read it, and I feel like it's not really that popular anymore. At the time it was like really popular, so I wanted to join in on the hype, but I never got to it. I think it's a 3-book series as well, and maybe inspired by The Secret History. I do really want to try out Olivia Blake's writing. And then I have 3 books in the Shadow Me series. I have Shadow Me, Ignite Me, Unravel Me. I know I'm missing the novellas that go in between these books. This series has been on my TBR for such a long time, but I've never been in the right mood for it. I feel like I'm not really in the mood for dystopian books as an adult. I read a lot of them as like a young teen, like The Hunger Games, The Maze Runner, and I feel like I'm not really in that type of mood anymore. But I have a feeling I'm gonna like this series, and it's such a popular series that I want to give it a go, but I haven't been in the right mood to start it, especially since it's also such a long series. But I know I do eventually want to read it at some point. I have The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. I think this is about a witch family. I am a lover of witches. Like, I'm really, I don't know, I just love witches. I love witch media. I have The Poppy War by Arif Kwong. This is such a popular fantasy series that I'm also really nervous to read. I feel like this series is kind of heartbreaking from what I've heard from like other people's reactions to this series, but also such an amazing series. And I want to read it at some point, but I'm really nervous. Jade City by Fonda Lee. I'm also really nervous for this series. It's a really popular fantasy series, but I'm a bit scared. For some reason, I feel like it's going to be hard for me to read. It just gives that vibe. I know I need to read it at some point. And then I have Crown of Midnight and Hair of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. I did read Throne of Glass quite a while ago now, and I haven't felt like getting back into that series. I feel like the series is really gonna like consume me, so I want to be in the mood for it to continue it. That's all of my fantasy done. Okay, next let's get into romance. I have 39 romance books, so this is my biggest genre I own. So I have the Twisted series. I've had this series for so long and I need to get to it. The only reason I haven't really started it yet is because I haven't heard good things about Twisted Love, so I'm nervous for that book, but it has been on my mind recently. I kind of want to pick it up. I then have a bunch of Monica Murphy books. I have Promises We Meant to Keep, I'll Always Be With You, A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime, and I have one more in the other stack. I haven't read a book by her, but I feel like I'll like this series. It's the Lancaster Prep series. I think it's kind of like high school romances, maybe. I'm not completely sure. We have Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is who I was talking about before when I was talking about Hunt on Dark Waters, the fantasy book. She typically writes romance books from what I've seen, and I've really wanted to read this. I then have Anatomy by Sana Schmartz. This is a romance with, I think, mystery, and I've really wanted to read this book. I then have Unravel Me for Becca Mack. I can't lie, a big reason why I bought this book was for the cover, because it's so pretty. But I have had books by Becca Mack on my TBR for quite a while now, so I do really want to read her books. I then have The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. I feel like this is a OG BookTok romance. I honestly haven't heard the best things about this book. I feel like a lot of people say it's kind of cheesy and not the best, but I want to give it a go. So I have it, and it's not even that long, so why not? I then have Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. I actually finished Done and Dusted, the first book in this series, yesterday. I didn't like it that much, but the covers on these books are gorgeous, so I want to own them anyways. And hopefully I like this book more. I then have The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is the first book in the Off Campus series. That's a really popular booktube romance series I've wanted to read for quite a while now. They're all like college hockey romances. I then have Caught Up by Liz Tomford. This is really high up on my TBR. I really want to read this book. This is the third book in the Windy City series. I then have Wreck the Horse by Tessa Bailey. I got this around Christmas time because I wanted a few Christmas romances. I never got to it, obviously, but I do want to read it next Christmas, hopefully. Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I honestly have thought about I have thought about unhauling this book for a really long time because I just feel like I'm not gonna like it. There's a part of me that's like, maybe I will like it, maybe I will love it, even though I feel like I'm not going to, but I just want to give it a chance, but I'm so nervous to. Then I have Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. This is a bit of a what's the right word to use, questionable book. I don't know, it's kind of like, I know a lot of people would read the synopsis of this book and be like, why the hell do you own this? But it sounds like a fun time. It is ex-boyfriend's dad romance, but it sounds fun, okay? And then I have books in the Chestnut Spring series. I have Hopeless, Heartless, Powerless, and I have more in the other stack. I did read Flawless this week actually, and I'm really excited to continue this series. Okay, that's every book in the first romance stack. I have Things I Wanted to Say, another Monica Murphy book. King of Greed by Anna Wong, and also King of Sloth. I'm really excited for King of Sloth, but I do need to read King of Greed first. And then I have Love Light Farms by B.K. Borison. I've heard so many good things about this book. I do want to try and read it around Christmas time since it's a Christmassy book. Four Boys by Penelope Douglas. I want to give some other Penelope Douglas books a go since I really liked Punk 57, but there are some of her books I have a big feeling I'm not gonna like, so I've tried to stay away from those. But I feel like I'm gonna like Birthday Girl, and this kind of intrigued me. I have The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This was such a popular BookTok romance book. I've heard so many mixed things about it. It's also massive, so I've really put it off, but I do want to read it at some point. I have With You Forever by Chloe Leese. Chloe Leese is one of my favorite authors. I really loved some of the books in this series. I did read it out of order, but I'm excited to continue this series. I have The Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is the last book in the Dreamland Billionaires series I have to read. It is a second chance romance, which isn't my favorite, but I have heard really good things. I also have Reckless by Elsie Silver. When Gracie Met the Grump by Mariana Zapata. I haven't heard a lot of things about this book. I do want to read more Mariana Zapata, but I want to read more of her older books. I think this is a lot newer, but I don't have any of her older books. My Big W, where I usually buy books, only had When Gracie Met the Grump and didn't have any of her other books. So I picked this one up, but I honestly haven't heard a lot about it. I have Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. I have actually heard bad things about this book, but I want to give it a go anyways. Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score. The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is such a well-loved book, so I'm excited to get into this. If We Ever Meet Again by Anna Wong. I have so many Anna Wong books. This is one of her first series, so I'm not expecting amazing things, but it looks fun and it's very short. The Long Game by Elena Armas. The Love Contract by Steph Vizard. I have not seen a single person talk about this book. I saw it at Big W and it intrigued me. I think it's a single mom trope and also fake dating. The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I'm excited for this book. I feel like I'm really gonna like it. Consider Me, another Becca Mack book. The cover is gorgeous. I'm really excited for this book. This book has been on my TBR for a really long time. Addicted to You by Krista and Becca Ritchie. This is another really loved romance series that I'm nervous for. I haven't heard the best things about the first book, but I know so many people love the series, so I'm excited to get into it. Okay, we finished the second stack. Romance is done. I feel like I'm over halfway now. This is taking longer than I thought, but I don't know what I expected. Okay, the next stack is mostly literary fiction, but I do have some mysteries and non-fiction mixed in, so I'm gonna go through those first. I have one non-fiction book, which is Paris, the memoir. I honestly know nothing about Paris. I think I heard good things about this book, and I do want to read more memoirs and non-fiction, so I think it'll be fun to read this at some point. And then for my mystery slash horror slash thriller, I have 4 books. Carrie by Stephen King, Misery by Stephen King. I have watched the movie, but I do want to read the book at some point. American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. This book terrifies me. I don't think I need to say more. And then I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This has been on my TBR for so long. I've never read a mystery book or a thriller book or a horror book. I say that so often, and I'm planning to make a video where I read them for the first time. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. I'm going to make myself do it around Halloween. I've been putting it off for so long. I'm determined to do it around Halloween. Okay, moving on. So for literary fiction, I have 19 books in total. I have Rouge by Mona Awad. I think this book is has horror aspects as well, but it really intrigues me. I think it's maybe a Snow White retelling. I've really wanted to read a book by Mona Awad, and this one intrigued me the most. I have Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Melos. I've had this book for so long, but I've heard people compare it to Normal People, which I didn't really like that book, so I'm nervous to read it. I have New Animal by Ella Baxter, Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. Oh my god, so much dust. The Goodbye Cat by Hiro Arakawa. This is a Japanese translated book about cats. I love me some Japanese translated literature, especially about cats, so I'm so excited for this. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I think this is historical literary fiction. The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. Nine Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty. This was the first book I picked up when I got back into reading, and I DNF'd it. I don't know where I DNF'd it, but I feel like it wasn't a good book to get me hooked into reading because it's kind of slower. I do want to pick it up again at some point and actually finish it because I've heard so many good things. I know there's also a show that was inspired by this book, and it is a really loved book. The Virgin Suicides. This is like a modern classic. I did also DNF this book, but I want to get back into it. I feel like I was reading it really slowly, but I do want to pick it up again. Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. What You Were Looking For Is in the Library. Another Japanese translated literature book about cats. No, I don't think it's actually about cats. I lied. I don't know what it's about, but I really want to read it. My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I've also thought about unhauling this book because I haven't had the best things, but I kind of also want to give it a go. I don't know. I'm still very undecided. If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I think this is kind of dark academia and maybe inspired by The Secret History, but like Shakespeare edition. I don't remember that well. Kafka on the Shore by Murakami. I wanted to pick up a Murakami book, and this one interested me the most. I don't remember what it's about, but it has a cat, so I wanted it. My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferranti. I've heard so many good things about these books, so I really want to give it a go. Chlorine by Jade Song. I did also pick up this book, and I DNF'd it, I think around like February, because I kind of forgot I was reading it. I was reading so many books, and it wasn't fitting in the reading vlogs I was reading, so I do want to pick this back up and finish it at some point. I was really enjoying it. I have Circe by Madeline Miller. I've been wanting to read this book for a really long time. I really liked The Song of the Achilles, and I've heard so many good things about this book, so I really want to read it. Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. I think this girl is a werewolf. I'm not completely sure, but it really intrigues me. That's all of the literary fiction. Okay, moving on to my classics. I have 24 classics in total. This is definitely the genre I reach to the least. I don't know the last time I read a classic, to be honest. But let's get into it. I have Lolita. I actually did DNF this book. I want to pick it back up. The same thing with The Virgin Suicides. I was reading it really slowly and I just was having trouble getting through it. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I also DNF'd this book, but I want to get back into it. I love the TV series for Anne of Green Gables. Little Women. Perfume by Patrick Susskind. The Hobbit. The Great Gatsby. This is like a oh my god, the pages are like orange. This is a really like battered edition of it. Treasure Island. Around the World in 80 Days. Jane Eyre. The Secret Garden. The Bell Jar. To the Lighthouse. I also DNF'd this book. I read it like a year ago and then DNF'd it because I was having a really hard time understanding it, but I do want to give it another go. I think I want to read more classics before I give this another go though, because I feel like I'm still very much a beginner when it comes to classics. Alice in Wonderland and Emma by Jane Austen. For the last stack, I have heaps of Charles Dickens books that my grandma gave to me. I don't know if I'll read these, but I wanted to have them anyways. I do want to read some of them, but I don't even know if I'll like his writing. I'll just quickly go through them. I have Nicholas Nickleby, Oliver Twist, David Copperfield, Our Mutual Friend, Bleak House, A Tale of Two Cities, Hard Times, and Little Dorrit. That's all of my classics. I do have one more genre, manga. I have 3 mangas. I have Nana Volume 1, Spy Family Volume 1, and then I have Death Note Volume 11 and 12 because I thought it was Volume 1. Don't talk about it, okay? I know. Do not mention it. Okay, that was every book on my physical TBR. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, please let me know if you want to see me read any of these books and I will try to prioritize them. I might even make a video where I'll use the comments to choose what I'm reading for a week. But yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel. I also have a book Instagram, a book TikTok, and a Goodreads. And yeah, thank you for watching. Bye!